know, winds I know, and I will go. I'll stay no more on England's shore, so let the music roar. I'm off for the morning train.
Welcome to this episode of A History of the Navy in 100 Objects, presented by the United States Naval Academy Museum. We have heard in earlier episodes about the colorful history of John Paul Jones, and today's object expands upon that legacy. The full story today comes from Vice Admiral Michael Miller, United States Navy retired, the former superintendent of the U.S. Naval Academy.
Hello, I'm Vice Admiral Mike Miller. I'm the superintendent of the Naval Academy. And we're here in the Naval Academy's famous museum, right next to the John Paul Jones exhibit. And I happen to be holding a sword that was a gift to John Paul Jones on the occasion of his dramatic victory of the Bonhomme Richard over the Serapis. The sword itself is fascinating. It's about 33 inches long, most likely made by the Klingenthal armory. It was the French armory from 1768 into the early 1800s. But this is a very special sword. In point of fact, it's inscribed here on the side. It's for, John Paul Jones, who established the freedom of the seas. The sword itself is relatively light, probably no more than perhaps maybe 4 or 5 pounds. And yet it symbolizes for us in the Navy the tremendous responsibility that comes with a naval commission. For we are expected to not just defend the freedom of the seas. We are expected, if need be, to exert force upon those who would threaten the freedom of the seas. The sword for me has special symbolic meaning because this is the product of, at the time, some of the most precise manufacturing that could be done. The Klingenthal factory would produce these for the royalty, and they were expected to be both durable and flexible blades, obviously very sharp. This is an ornamental sword in many respects. It's solid gold. But what's so important about this process is how the steel is heated and cooled and hammered and then reheated again. Each of the countries in Europe had their own, and Japan in point of fact, had their own special secret way of producing swords that were both pliable and strong and resilient. This sword is no exception. And while the exact temperature might have varied from 1400 degrees Fahrenheit to 1650, each nation was convinced that they were producing the best that could be made in the world. The same is true here at the Naval Academy. This sword, symbolic of the strength, the durability, the journey that the midshipmen take here in 4 years over very rigorous academic standards, a leadership continuum that links them to both a distant past and a very uncertain future. But also this great strength of purpose, the courage that comes with wielding a blade like this, but also the ultimate responsibility for the freedom of the seas and for our nation.
Thank you for joining us today for A History of the Navy in 100 Objects. We hope you'll come visit us at the Naval Academy Museum in Annapolis, Maryland, to see these objects and learn this history for yourself.